Hello everyone, this is Matt from A to Disney. This is the week of Dapper days, so I just thought I would share a recipe that I found that kind of exemplifies to me what the Dapper Dans are. Whenever we see them perform, it's usually around Coca-Cola Refreshment Corner, and the thing that my family likes to eat the most while we're there is pretzels. So I found a pretzel recipe online from the key ingredient by a user named M2H. We'll leave a description in the box below so that you can try it out with us. And I just wanted to share it with you today. So the first step is we're going to create a kind of a concoction of where the yeast is going to be from. And to make that, you're going to take 2 cups of hot water, a tablespoon of sugar, and a whole packet of active dry yeast. And you're just going to pour them in together, stirring in the sugar first. And then you're going to add your yeast. You're going to stir that in as good as you can. And you have to let this mixture sit for about 5 minutes. So while that's sitting, we'll go ahead and make our, the next part of the recipe is you take 5 cups of flour and you add in a tablespoon of salt. And you just kind of mix those ingredients together. So the first step is we're going to create a kind of a concoction of where the yeast is going to be from. And to make that, you're going to take 2 cups of hot water, a tablespoon of sugar, and a whole packet of active dry yeast. And you're just going to pour them in together, stirring in the sugar first. And then you're going to add your yeast. You're going to stir that in as good as you can. And you have to let this mixture sit for about 5 minutes. So while that's sitting, we'll go ahead and make our, the next part of the recipe is you take 5 cups of flour and you add in a tablespoon of salt. And you just kind of mix those ingredients together. So now that the yeast portion has set for 5 minutes, we're going to add it into our dry ingredients. And then we're going to, for this step, you'll need this is made especially for bread dough. So if you have a KitchenAid mixer, this is what you'll want to use. And so you're going to put it on a low setting and just let it mix for about 30 seconds. And then once you get to that point, you're going to turn up the speed and let it beat until it cleanly comes from the sides. You don't want it too fast, it's probably just a medium speed for this part. so you're going to want to knead, and the recipe didn't say for how long, but some other sources said that you probably want to do it for about 10 minutes. You just kind of want to develop the gluten in there, stretch it out. And the recipe says that if it gets sticky like this, you can add a little bit more flour. But eventually this is gonna firm up and turn into a nice smooth ball. So after you're done kneading your dough, you're going to put the dough in a oil-lined bowl, and you're going to let it sit and rise covered with saran wrap until it doubles in size, which I find usually takes place in like 2 to 3 hours in the 2 times that I've tried this recipe. So after the dough has had time to rise, you're going to separate. The recipe actually calls you to punch the dough a little bit and then separate it into 16 pieces. I've already started separating mine. And then the next step is kind of challenging for beginners. At least I found it to be challenging as a beginner. This is one of the first times I've ever made pretzels before, and it's easy in some ways and hard in other ways. But you want to kind of play with the dough and get it to kind of roll it out to about 18 inches. And you what I found worked best was just kind of working from the middle outward. And it naturally has a tendency to shrink back because of the gluten. Because one of the videos I watched on how to make pretzels said that it's almost kind of like, you kind of have to think of it as a muscle. It'll do what you want it to, but you kind of have to work it. So once you have a good length, you're going to make a U shape. And then you're going to kind of twist them down. And then kind of fold them into place. And that will form your pretzels. So the next part, we're going to actually poach our pretzels. And to do that, you're going to take 2 tablespoons of baking soda and put it in not a boiling pot, but a pot that's on about medium heat. And you're going to put the baking soda into the pot. Gonna give it a good stir. There's some pretzel recipes that actually require lye at this point, which is kind of crazy. You're gonna take your pretzel and you're going to put it in the solution for about 1 minute. So after we're done poaching our pretzels, we're gonna put them on a cookie sheet lined with parchment paper. And then we're going to make an egg wash, and we're just going to coat them a little bit. And the egg wash is a whole egg. It's not just the yolk, it's not just the egg whites, it's a whole egg. And at this point is where you're going to add any toppings that you want. They suggested salt, almond slices, cinnamon. So at this point is where you're going to put any toppings you want, and for this one we're just going to put some salt on it. And if you can find it, there's decorative salt. That's a little bit bigger than the salt we're going to be using today. And a little bit more fancy. And then once we have them coated, we're going to throw them in a 450-degree oven for 12 minutes. And here's what they look like when they're done. You'll know when they're done when they're kind of, I think this one's probably the most perfect shaped, perfect coloring. And now we're just gonna let them cool, and while we're letting them cool, we're gonna make a cream cheese kind of like dip for sweetness. On the recipe included, it does tell you the steps of how to make them cream cheese filled, but I think it's probably a lot easier, a lot manageable to just do it as a dip. So I'm just going to show you how to make that filling, and then you can decide for yourself whether you want to use it as a dip or a filling. So to make the dip or the filling, you're just going to add 1 cup of powdered sugar, and you're going to do a 16-ounce or 8-ounce package of just cream cheese. And you want the cream cheese at room temperature. And you're just gonna beat it together till it's nice and smooth and creamy. So here's the finished product. If you try this recipe, let us know down in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, comment on our video. And remember, whether at home or at the park, make sure to make every day a Disney day. Goodbye.